Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Wednesday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and early, 4 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. I think today's the first day of fall. Happy autumn. Happy autumnal equinox. Autumnal equinox. All right. I want to read an opinion piece, an editorial from a local newspaper. I did this before. The newspaper is the Waterbury Republican American. Waterbury is the fourth largest city in Connecticut. I did this before. Now this is an opinion, an editorial from the publishers of this paper, William J. Pape and Company. Before I do that, I want to talk about a few other things. There was a few other things in the news today, but they're not big enough to make a whole video on. Okay, the pillow guy, Mike Lindell. He is now 100% positive, sure, swears by it 100%. By Thanksgiving now, Donald Trump will be reinstated. They're going to bring their evidence and their captured packets in front of the Supreme Court by Thanksgiving. The link will be down below. He swears to it. This time he is sure. This is, I've lost track. Fourth time, I think? Third, fourth? I don't know. Seriously, links down below. He's sure of it this time. See, that story was so small. It wasn't even. It was so stupid. It wasn't even enough to make a whole video on. So I just included it there. Also, there's going to be a link down below. I'm pretty sure I think it's in Arizona. Somebody that's running for the Senate in Arizona or Nevada. The election is 14 months away, and he is claiming that he is going to start filing lawsuits right now, preemptive lawsuits, because if he loses, there will be cheating. Swear to God. He doesn't know how or why or by who, but if he loses, it's going to be because of cheating. This is the Republican Party now. This is their playbook. If they lose, they lost because it was cheating. We saw that with Newsom, the Newsom recall in California. I'll have the links for those two stories down below. Like I said, they were kind of small stories. So, okay, one more thing before we get to the editorial. I got a question from somebody. Somebody asked me, what time do you get up in the morning? Because I talk about how I start reading these news stories at 2:30 a.m. I wake up every morning at 2:30 a.m. I say my prayers and I meditate for about 20 minutes. Then I start looking through the news stories. I start moving around here about 3:30. Get myself cleaned up. I start producing the video around 4 to about 5 or 6, and then I start exercising till about 10, and then I work on my art, contacts, galleries. I work on logos for different companies too. I do some drafting, and I do this all in the afternoon. Here's the answer to your question. Since I've been in recovery for coming up on 15 years, October 23rd will be 15 years. My sleep never returned to normal. This is common with people in recovery. I think especially with being addicted to opiates, but that's not the case. It happens to people that were addicted to other things too. But sleep, a lot of times our sleep never returns to normal. How I sleep through the night, this is bizarre, but it's the truth. I sleep hour by hour. I don't know how or why, but I'll fall asleep at 6 p.m. watching TV or reading. I will wake up an hour later. I'll stay awake for a half hour or so, whatever. I'll fall asleep again for another. I sleep 60 minutes exactly at a time, from 2 to 3, from 12:30 to 1:30. Not any set time, but always 1 hour of sleep, and then I wake up again. I have no idea why this is, how or why this is, but it works for me. I obviously I'm energized. I feel, I managed to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep through this, and this will happen around supper time. I'll doze off for an hour. I'll wake up, I'll do some more work, I'll get another hour, and so I sleep hour by hour, and it's come to work for me. So there's the answer to your question. Okay, let's get into this editorial. Stick with me here, because this is interesting. Okay, the title of this is The Riot That Wasn't. Now, just a brief overview, a brief synopsis of this. This is from the editors of this paper, and it really ticked me off because what they're saying here is that the American intelligence agencies and the Democrats, liberals, or whatever, are responsible for underestimating what happened back in January, the beginning of January, and for overestimating what didn't happen on September 18th, last Saturday. And it's not the people that participated or Donald Trump's that got everybody all pumped up. Go back there, fight like hell, blah, blah, blah. Those pictures of his eyes, those creep me out, man, so bad. Those pictures of that day in January with Trump's eyes. I mean, if that is not a freaking cult, I don't know what is. But none of that is their fault, okay? It's the fault of the American intelligence agencies for not seeing that Donald Trump was going to do this and lead an insurrection. And then this editorial goes on, and it compares Chicago. It downplays white supremacist groups. I hope I can say that. And they talk about the violence in Chicago. It's always Chicago. I don't know if that's because where Obama came from or what, but they compare the violence of white supremacist groups to Chicago, which is apples and oranges. We're talking about a major U.S. city versus right-wing groups it's apples and oranges. Let me just read the article, all right? The riot that was it. I think they should take it very seriously. This is in quotes. In fact, they should take it more seriously than they took the same sort of intelligence that they likely saw on January 5th. Now, that's a quote from former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe on CNN September 6th. Okay. The editorial starts, well, if predicting insurrections and riots by conservative-leaning Americans were baseball, American intelligence agencies would be 0 for 2. They underestimated the magnitude of the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol, which caused extensive damage to the iconic building, endangered elected officials and their staffs, and left several people dead. Then, the intelligence services greatly overestimated the dangers of Saturday's demonstration in support of imprisoned January 6th rioters. I'm surprised he even calls them rioters. News reports from the demonstration that took place Saturday indicate no more than a few hundred people showed up, including journalists and counter-protesters. The ugly chain link fences were up, and the body armor police were present in strong numbers, but there were only 4 arrests and no violence. Organizers, led by former Donald Trump campaign staffer Mark Brainard of the nonprofit Look Ahead America, surmised that worries of harsh enforcement and prosecution and possibly fear of the actions of counter-protesters suppressed the turnout. More likely, the passions that drove the crowds that attacked the Capitol on January 6th have cooled, while awareness and the political right's best weapon is not violence, but democracy has grown. Oh, so they've learned their lessons now, and they realize that democracy is the answer. Remember what I just said about this guy running for Senate? Or 14 months away from the election, he's already going to start filing lawsuits that there's going to be cheating. He can see the future, basically. If he loses, that's not democracy. All right. The fact Saturday came and went without violence is positive in its own right, but it also served the nation well by exposing as nonsense the widespread fear of white supremacist violence. The nonsense of fearing white supremacist violence. When it comes to extremism, business leader observed September 10th, the focus within U.S. law enforcement intelligence agencies has shifted to white supremacist and far-right groups. That's a quote. Almost in parallel to this notion have been sharp increases in street violence in American cities, including Bridgeport, Hartford, and New Haven in Connecticut. Violence that has no taint of white supremacist involvement or indeed any organizing principle. I believe what he's saying there is that it's not the white people that are violent. In other words, it's all black people's fault. Okay. Since 2015, the right-wing extremists have been linked to at least 2,067 plots. This is a quote again from Business Insider, which has the right idea. Since 2015, right-wing extremists have been linked to at least 267 plots or attacks and 91 fatalities, according to Washington Post analysis of data from the Center for Strategic and International Studies. End of quote. Business Insider's report indicated, comparatively, 66 attacks or plots and 19 fatalities were attributed to far-left views. End of quote. The report also stated far-right extremists have killed 114 people in the United States since September 11, 2001, compared with 107 by jihadists. Now, he's very upset that the white supremacists are being compared to jihadists. Okay. Combined, they add up to a fraction of the 700 murders that took place last year in Chicago alone. It may be a point of political advantage for liberals to hold up white supremacists as a major threat to safety in the United States, but the reality lies elsewhere, and federal authorities need to acknowledge that. Maybe Saturday's insurrection that wasn't will be a start for getting that message out. This what he's saying there is, without saying it, is that a certain specific color of skin people are responsible for more violence. And he points to the inner cities and Chicago. So he's using these numbers from Chicago for American cities with hundreds of people, and there's no telling if there was any that white supremacists were actually involved in those. It doesn't have the data necessary. You're comparing apples to oranges here. But even worse than that, he totally downplays the significance, the danger of white supremacist groups. So there's a link down below to the Southern Poverty Law Center. I wanted to look up how many people approximately are involved in far-right groups in America, and I could not even get close to a number on that, because I wanted to start with how many people are involved in right-wing groups, left-wing groups, and how many people live in Chicago. So I was trying to get an angle of it that way. But what I did come across was the unbelievable amount and descriptions of these groups in this link in the Southern Poverty Law Center. I want you guys to look through it. They talk about the 3%ers, Oath Keepers, blah, blah, blah. There's, I believe there's over 70. Some of them are far left. There's by far right outnumbers the left. There's probably about, probably about five to eight far left groups out of the 70 or so. And most of them are far right. But I want you guys to go and see this link and from the Southern Poverty Law Center and see the actual groups that this editor-in-chief is downplaying, and read their descriptions, what they do, what they're about. The Westboro Baptist Church is one of them, and on and on. So check it out. The links will be down below. I'll be back later with another video. You guys have a great Wednesday.